Happy holidays, everyone. My name's Troy Lamel Stovall. I am the CEO and Executive Director for TEDCO, and welcome to TEDCO Talks. And first of all, before I introduce my exciting guest today, I want to extend my sincerest greetings. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. And if I missed anybody, it's from the heart, not from the mind. And so please enjoy, but most importantly, in this year of 2020, please enjoy it safely. And make sure you think about others as well. So with that, I am just excited here to have my newest friend, Michele Whelley, who is who heads up EAGB, and you're going to learn more about EAGB here in a second. But Michele, I want to thank you for agreeing to do the TEDCO Talks for us today.
My pleasure. And it's Michele Whelley. It's Whelley like Kelly.
See, there you go. So the Whelley, see.
Yeah.
There you go, Michele
but
Whelley.
Everybody makes that mistake, including everybody in my family. So
see, there you go.
Not a big deal. But I echo to all the viewers the good wishes for the holiday season. And thankfully, 2020 is coming to an end. I don't really care that we don't have any idea what's going to happen in the first part of 2021. At least it's a new year.
There you go. There you go. Michele, let's just dive right into it if you don't mind. So I think a lot of our listeners may not know about EAGB. So why don't you tell a little bit about EAGB, and then as you do that, a little bit about Michele, so we know a little bit more about you and how you got to this point.
Great, thank you, Troy. EAGB, unfortunately, is not as well known as we would like. It's been around for 23 years, believe it or not. It was formed in the late 1990s with a mission that is still true to today, and that is to market the economic development assets of the region as a region, as opposed to each jurisdiction in the greater Baltimore region being out on their own. The region includes Baltimore City, and then the surrounding counties, Cecil, Carroll, Harford, Baltimore counties, Howard County, Anne Arundel County. And those counties are included in the region by charter. Our charter provides for voting seats for the county executives of those counties and the mayor, on the board, as well as a few other ex officio, but voting ex officio members, the Secretary of the Department of Commerce, the Chancellor of the University System, etc. As I said, we're over 23 years old. We have a fairly unique board in that, as I've just mentioned, we have elected officials who are voting members of the board alongside academia, university system, Towson University, Loyola, and Howard County Community College, and then private sector industry. And because of the government involvement in our board, we do not lobby. We are not a lobbying organization. We're also not a membership organization. Our board are our investors, and they provide yearly contributions to keep the organization running. So our mission is very much marketing the economic development assets of the region. We work very closely with the economic development officers in those jurisdictions, lots of private sector partners as well as public sector partners. The Cybersecurity Association of Maryland, for example, the Regional Manufacturing Institute, Maryland Tech Council, Downtown Partnership. I mean, I could, the alphabet soup of organizations out there. I've been on board since January 2019, along with my top-notch COO, Sharon Markley Schreiber. We started together in January with the task of getting the organization really refocused on its core mission. Again, the mission has not changed over the years. We started out with no staff. Took us a couple months to get the staff in place, but we're now 5 individuals, actually 4 3/4 individuals. So we're lean and mean. Because of that, we collaborate, we partner. We don't reinvent the wheel. We don't duplicate. We're here to support all the folks out there, all the organizations that are doing good work, including our local jurisdictions. My background is all economic development, really since the early 1990s. I know I'm dating myself. Most of my work has been in and around the Baltimore area. I spent about 2 years in New Haven, Connecticut, under a contract with Yale, to form an economic development organization for the city.
Oh, wow.
And I've also done off and on over these years. I've done a lot of independent consulting, but I've been an executive vice president at Baltimore's Economic Development Corporation in the 90s. I was president of the Downtown Partnership for almost 5 years in the early 2000s. I ran the Central Maryland Transportation Alliance for 4 years. So, you know, my career path has really been in the nonprofit arena, very focused on economic development. Even the Transportation Alliance, you know, the transportation, the focus of that organization while I was running it, and still to a large extent today, is transportation through the lens of economic development. Getting people to jobs, being a catalyst for projects, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha.
So
that's great. And you know, I have to say thank you for your service to the state. You know, I appreciate it, and I know the state appreciates your service to the state. That's a great mix. I mean, you brought together through the alliance and the word of EAGB. If people hadn't figured out by now, the A is alliance,
yeah.
and Economic Alliance of Greater Baltimore. You know, I keep saying it, but it's the Economic Alliance of Greater Baltimore. And I, you know, hope you agree. The key word in that is alliance, and
absolutely,
you've built that group of folks. Tell me the strength of having all those people being able to come together. And is there a project or something that you can point to that people may not know the role that the EAGB has helped in making that particular thing happen?
That's an interesting question. We are not, this is going to sound unusual for an economic development organization. We are not particularly focused on projects per se, but what we have done, because our focus is marketing, as we push our marketing efforts from inside the region, and what I mean by that is for the better part of 2019, we were very focused on making sure that the region itself knew how strong it was. That the distribution and manufacturing industries in Cecil and Carroll counties were as important to the region's health as BWI Airport, Fort Meade, and NSA in Anne Arundel County. So we spent a great deal of time really focusing on that. But as we push out to the out-of-region marketing, very targeted, and I'll get into that a little bit later, having private sector industry and academia at the table with local government in terms of identifying the strong industry sectors and making sure that our competitive regions across the country were aware of the assets that we have. We have a marketing committee, marketing and communication subcommittee. It's MCSC. I always have these acronyms in my head. And what that committee does is there's about 60 individuals who are members of the committee, about 40 participate on a regular basis. We have asked our private sector partners, our board members as well as other partners, to use their strength, their marketing reach to amplify our message. We can never, as an organization, push out a marketing message to the extent that a Bank of America or an M&T Bank or a T. Rowe Price or an Ernst & Young, all those companies on our board, they can do that through their networks. And what we've asked them to do is to amplify our marketing message as appropriate, and we in turn will amplify theirs. And that includes with the academic institutions. So I think that's where that's one area where the collaboration within an organization, the alliances within the organization, really work well together.
No, that's great. And so I like your word amplify. I really, that makes a lot of sense to me. What's one of those assets that, you when people think about kind of, if you will, the area around Baltimore, Central Maryland there, that people may not know is really an asset that hasn't gotten as much attention as people, and it's a strong asset, but people haven't heard about it or know about it?
Yeah, I think people are pretty well versed in the fact that because of our location, that we're strong in defense industry and cybersecurity and IT, healthcare and life sciences. But the two, if not three, that I have found has surprised people at times, particularly people who are not right in the region, are logistics and manufacturing. Logistics in particular, to a large degree because of the port, which is one of the top performing ports in the country, but also the land-based logistics, distribution, and warehousing is what I'm referring to specifically. Because of the very good transportation network, we're on the East Coast and the Mid-Atlantic, a terrific highway and freight rail network that can really serve most of the country through the Midwest. So we're very attractive for logistics, and it's an area of growth that has just taken off incredibly because of e-commerce. And that was happening even before the pandemic. But now with the pandemic, when everybody's shopping online and everybody wants their items delivered yesterday, forget about today, they want it yesterday. So a lot of activity throughout the region in terms of warehousing and distribution. That surprises people. The other area is manufacturing, and contrary to popular opinion, manufacturing is not dead. We're not seen, Maryland as a state is not seen as a hotbed of manufacturing activity, but in fact our manufacturing sector is quite strong. We have a competitive disadvantage to the Southeast, where there's a great deal of manufacturing due significantly to cost of energy and labor costs. Where we're starting to be very competitive and really attract some real attention is the fact that manufacturing is becoming increasingly based on technology. And even entry-level jobs in manufacturing are requiring workers to have a baseline understanding of technology. And that's where we excel because of our strong educational system, high school, college, and four-year institutions. And the third area that I'll mention, only because people don't often think about it, is agriculture. Actually strong statewide, but it is very important for the economies of three, if not four, of our local jurisdictions.
No, and just in that last one, aquaculture, I have made kind of a commitment that it's an area of emphasis for TEDCO. I've been talking to the folks on the shore and been participating with a number of folks with the incubators there. And I definitely think it's a space, like you just said, that we have a spike, and there's no reason that Maryland as a state can't be a national leader in this space. And so I know TEDCO, we want to be invested in those, and some startups that want to be in that space. And on the manufacturing, you didn't mention it, but obviously we got this vaccine, and we'll talk about COVID obviously in a minute. But one of the vaccines is being manufactured, being produced here in Maryland.
Yeah, Emergent Biosolutions, which is in the city as well as Montgomery County, Catalent, which is in Anne Arundel County as well as in Montgomery County, and there's several more are ramping up to manufacture the vaccines. I mean, the greater Baltimore area has been put on the map in a perverse way thanks to the pandemic. Because of the presence of the university system, which is very strong in vaccine development, and Johns Hopkins. I mean, I think almost every single morning on the morning news, there's something about Johns Hopkins. Hopkins, by the way, is also on our board. So yes, the spotlight is shining on the region because of the strong pharmaceutical base, both on the manufacturing side and the R&D side. And one of the things that we need to do better at the Economic Alliance is collaborate and find synergistic ways of partnering with the strong pharmaceutical industry in the DC area. I've reached out to the BioHealth Innovation Group, Rich Bendis, and a couple of others to really see, there's always going to be competition between the two regions, but there's also a great deal of opportunity for collaboration.
No, I agree with you. And I think you and I talked about this the other day is, we will only be as strong as we are knitted together, and the tighter we are. And you can have friendly competition, but as long as we have a singular goal of elevating Maryland, amplifying Maryland, to use your words, then we can always work around the areas where we may have competition around.
And there's competition within the region itself. I mean, when we get a request either from a real estate company or the company itself for information because they're interested in a facility in the region, we'll do a real quick, I'll call it an RFI, just very, very, short and sweet, and send it to all 7 of our economic development partners. And say, here's something that's come across our desk. Are any of you interested in putting in a proposal? And once we narrow it down to the individual jurisdictions, and it could be 2 or 3, and then we turn it over to the jurisdictions themselves and to commerce, because we are not negotiating deals. We're not in that game, thankfully. Been there, done that. We're not in that game, but we can facilitate the connections with the locals and the state Department of Commerce.
So we've been dancing around it. So, you know, like you said, you started in 2019, you got your team built up, you turned the calendar turned to 2020, and January hit, and in February, and then something happened in March.
I tell you, it's unbelievable how literally it's just like, you know, one day you're sitting here at your desk and you're working, and you walk out and you close the lights, you lock up, and that's it. You know, so it really had an impact on us, but like many other organizations and private sector companies, you know, we pivoted. You know, we have a job to do, and we have to satisfy our investor board. The biggest impact was we had just launched what was planned to be a pretty aggressive out-of-region marketing effort, very targeted. We engaged a company that developed a platform for us for digital ads based on geofencing. So what we did was myself and my staff, we identified locations. Life sciences was the first focus. Literally, the addresses of incubators, private sector businesses, universities, etc., in Boston and Philly that were hotbeds of life science activity. Pushing out these Google ads, very, very basic ads, the goal of which was to put out some statistics, number 1 in federal research dollars, you know, number 2 in this, and get people to click on the link to our website where they can get more information. And the ultimate goal is not for them to go on our website and stay there, but to go on our website and be very interested in, well, what's happening in Anne Arundel County, you know, with life sciences, and click on those links. So we started that. We did a month of those ads with very positive metrics. And then when the pandemic began to rear its ugly head, we did two more weeks of very, very, very vaccine-focused ads, same locations. And then the world shut down. Nobody's in their offices, so you can't do the geofencing. And we started looking for other opportunities to get our message out beyond the region, beyond the state. And that's really going to be our focus in 2021. Even with the pandemic still raging, unfortunately, no longer using the geofencing, but looking at three industries right now: life sciences, of course, which includes, you know, healthcare and digital health, cybersecurity, very strong, and logistics. And we've targeted locations mostly on from the Midwest to the East, not so much on the West Coast, where we feel we can compete very strongly. And what I mean by compete, I mean attract talent, attract capital, and attract businesses for relocating.
Makes sense.
Starting down that road again, we'll be pushing out ads in January on life sciences, and I believe also with logistics. Again, targeting those areas where we compete very strong. We can compete very strongly with. That's getting people to understand what the assets are, you know, in the region. We want to elevate the Greater Baltimore region as a location of choice. No matter where you are in the United States, this is the location of choice for these industry sectors.
No, I like that. That sounds great. So, but how else has COVID impacted just your leadership? You know, you you know, how you manage, how you lead, and then the organization writ large. That's a specific, but the organization writ large, other than, you know, having to learn to use Zoom, you know, all the time. You know, what are some of the lasting impacts that you think are going to happen because of COVID, both for Michele and for EAGB?
Well, on one hand, because we have a small staff, we talk constantly, either by phone, by conference call, by Zoom. You know, Sharon, again, my COO, Sharon Markley-Schreiber, has done a terrific job of really rolling up the shirt sleeves and looking at how to improve, you know, our networks, social media, our newsletter. You know, constantly looking to improve how we get our message out. Staff has been terrific. So keeping our staff together and keeping our staff connected has not been a challenge, and I think it is because we are so small.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of what I think has changed, certainly has changed in the last 10 months, but it'll be interesting to see how things evolve over the next 6 months. My private sector industry partners and board members, I do a lot of, I'm out of the office constantly, or
Sure.
was out of the office constantly. My job is to be out there, at meetings, visiting companies, et cetera, et cetera. That, of course, is all shut down. But it's important that we at the Alliance, keep in touch with our board members. So there's been a lot of one-on-one. I think I'm now up to number 30, 31 one-on-one 30-minute Zoom calls. Just saying, hey, how are you doing?
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
So I think moving into a non-pandemic world, which hopefully we'll get there sooner rather than later. It's really looking at how my board members, what they've needed to do to pivot, as we have, but also, what they're realizing in terms of the way they do business, the impact on real estate, which we all know is going to be pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's interesting, an awareness on the part of many of my board members that, working from home hasn't been an issue. Performance has not suffered. We've adjusted, et cetera. But what's missing, and why we still need physical space, and why we need people to be in physical space, if not 5 days a week, but at least part of the time, is you miss that corporate culture.
Amen.
You miss walking down the hallway, a junior associate at a law firm walking down the hallway and just putting their head in a senior partner's door and say, hey, I have a question I really need some help with.
Yep.
And it's interesting that I think every single one of the people I've talked to so far that are on my board has mentioned that the corporate culture piece, which is so important, not just economically, but from a corporate civic perspective, is important. That's missing. So I think people are becoming, businesses, particularly private sector businesses, are becoming more and more aware of that non-bottom line element of conducting business.
No, and let me add to, because I completely agree with you. It's those water cooler conversations, right? You miss those, and the level of just the socialization where I can find out that, about your family or something, about you. And so, or missing the after 5 happy hours after 5, just being able to go and just have the drink for 30, even if it's just for 30 minutes, or even just a lunch, being able to have a lunch with you. Those social engagements where we get to, because I always say, Michele, I think you'll agree, is that you and I can disagree, but if I understand you better, then I have an appreciation for why you had that point of view, and I can then find a better way for us to have a communicate, because I understand you versus understanding your point.
Most definitely, and it's you mentioned the networking. That's what I really, really do miss. I mean, not that I like being out 5 days a week at a business event, but there is that opportunity for much more informal conversation, really getting to know somebody outside of an official meeting. Mm-hmm. And it's so important for our emerging companies, because sitting behind a computer, even if you've got a small group of individuals that you're collaborating with, as you try to build your business, whether it's because you need to raise capital or you need a bigger network, those business events are gone. And I think it's going to be a challenge, and I'd be interested in seeing how we can work with you on this to get those small startup companies who have spent the last year hunkered down in their homes to understand that you need to get out. The world is opening up. You need to get out now, because this is what you will get out of being out at informal events, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a learned skill to some extent.
No, you're 100% right. And, it's easier, again, like I'm an old computer scientist, so it's easy to sit behind a computer and just program code all day and not think about the socialization. But so many of these companies have to understand that that's how you get your next customer. That's how you get the next partner. That's how you should get the next funding, by having these social relationships. And so yeah.
Most definitely.
So actually, that actually leads me to thinking about innovation. And, the role that TEDCO plays and what the EAGB is trying to do and how innovation plays into that, and the role that we as TEDCO can have in working with the EAGB and helping you amplify these messages you're trying to send about Greater Baltimore.
Well, I think the innovation piece is critical. And, you know, when you and I talked the other day, an area that we have not dived into too deep because it's a difficult area to navigate, and we just don't have the staff, and it's not part of our mission, is workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So to the extent that you know, we can work with organizations like TEDCO to make sure that as innovation, you know, moves forward at a pace that none of us ever could have predicted, you know, even 5 years ago, that the need for preparing workforce and talent has to go hand in hand. That, you know, providing, you know, a capital investment to a small emerging company in order to grow, but they can't find the people they need to grow with, then you haven't really achieved anything. So making sure our workforce network is really strong enough to turn out the kinds of jobs that we need to support, frankly, all of our industry sectors. You know, I mentioned earlier logistics and manufacturing. You know, those are jobs that traditionally don't require a 4-year degree. You can get a good paying career pathway job, you know, with community college or even a credential, and proceed along a decent career pathway. But increasingly, because of the workforce demands of so many of our technology companies, you know, cyber particularly, and also in life sciences, you know, we know that you don't need a 4-year degree to start down a pathway for in cybersecurity. You can get an entry-level job, you know, with some skills, and then of course you have to build on those skills to move forward. Life sciences is another area. There's a couple of training programs in Baltimore City that provide credentialing for high school students to become lab technicians, where they don't need to go to a 4-year school. And not that we're trying to discourage anybody from going to a 4-year college, but the reality is that not everybody wants to, not everybody has the opportunity to do it. So making sure that workforce element is keeping pace with the innovation, I think, is very important.
Yeah, no, we definitely have to partner, and I think it's a voice. I think it's, to your point, it's having, back to your point of an alliance, is having the various voices, and you have some of the key players at your table, having the higher ed folks at your table, but they need to hear the voice of business and the voice of us as investors, because your point is right. If we're making investments, say in the clean energy space or the aqua tech space, and we got these great companies, but there's not enough people to fill the jobs that they need, then frankly, it's a wasted investment.
It's a wasted investment, and eventually they'll leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, you know, without a doubt. So I think that's critical.
Yeah, and as we have that part of the conversation, the other part that's kind of part and parcel is around, you know, and one of the things that COVID has exposed is the social injustice that has been here. And I know that's, you know, we could spend probably a whole nother conversation just on that. But what has the Alliance talked about that, and any elements that the Alliance has talked about around that?
Oh, very much so. The June, our board meeting in June was about 2 weeks after George Floyd situation and the unrest demonstrations that came out of that. And there were a number of members of our board, you know, that basically said, you know, we know we do things already. You know, we have a civic responsibility, but we think we can do more. And can you know, EAGB staff, Michele Whelley, you know, help us figure out how we can do more. So that started me down the road, and this is where partnerships are so important. You know, I was very clear with the board that there was no need to start a new initiative, that there were plenty of good initiatives out there that would welcome our participation, and that we couldn't staff somebody else's initiative for them. I mean, that was not, but what we could do is be a connector, be a connector and a convener. So there were a couple of areas that the board was interested that we're still pursuing. One is providing pro bono business consulting services to community-based or small and emerging companies. companies that don't have a network of consultants or can
Mm-hmm.
afford to hire consultants, for business planning, financial planning, accounting, that kind of thing. So there are a couple of partnerships that we're still pursuing on that. The second area was mentoring high school students. One of our board members has been on the Kerwin Commission for many years, cares passionately about public school education. So we're COVID has made some of this very difficult, but we're looking at partnering with a couple of programs that are focused on getting Baltimore City high school students, particularly those who are seniors, who frankly don't have a clue what they're going to do when they graduate, to open their eyes to what's possible. That maybe you don't want to be an accountant, but these are the types of jobs that we have in an accounting company. Maybe you don't want to do, whatever it might be. So to not only open their eyes to the possibilities out there, that to make sure that if they have an area of interest, that working with these programs, and one in particular is Grads to Careers. It's a partnership between Baltimore's Promise and the Baltimore City school system, is to make sure they're training organizations that we can connect them to, so that they can get the training, the credentials, et cetera, to take those entry-level jobs in those various industries. And then for those of my board members who hopefully are interested in, I'm hoping it's many of them, to provide shadowing, internships, apprenticeships, so that these kids coming out of high school have some place to go that's productive and helps them support themselves and their families, other than, frankly, standing on the street corner.
No. So again, this is an area of passion for mine, and we're trying to figure out from TEDCO our part in that, and how do we make sure that companies that we invest in, one, have diversity both in their founder suite as well as in their first set of hires that they do, and so making sure that we're including all Marylanders in this economic revitalization that we have to do. We have to come out of this, and we've been saying that we're going to have to innovate our way out of this. We can't just restart what was. We have to really rethink what we were doing to get something different, and it has to include many more than were included before.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look, I want to get as close. I want to have a little fun. I want to say, gotta have some fun. It's the holiday season. Be of good cheer. Be of good cheer. So I'm gonna say a few words and see. First thing that comes to mind. Just
Oh, that could be dangerous, Troy.
It absolutely
I'll
could
give
be
it
dangerous.
a shot.
But we have editors. We have content editors, so they can figure that out. So how do I want to go here? Oh, so let's start with Inner Harbor.
Oh God, I have such a long history with the Inner Harbor. A treasure that needs to be completely rethought.
Old Bay.
Crabs.
I-95.
Great connector, needs more transit to reduce traffic congestion.
College Park.
I spent many years at College Park. Again, a huge asset, not just for the immediate area, but for the entire state and the country. The reputation of many of the schools at University of Maryland College Park has been elevated over the years, and I feel that we can compete with anybody.
2020.
Thankfully, almost over.
New Haven.
Conflicted. I had a 2-year contract, great support from Yale. We created a whole new economic development organization for the city, but not great partnership with the mayor at the time, although he wanted this to be done, or his administration. Great partnerships with the private sector and with Yale.
Gotcha. Christmas.
Joyous, very good, going to be very different this year. Amen. I have a very large extended family throughout the DC, Baltimore area, but it's going to be me and my kids. So 5 of us hunkered down, but we're so happy that we're all healthy. and we can be together.
There you go. And I'll close with 2021.
Hopeful, aspirational, a new order, a new world order.
So Michele, thank you. Any last words you want to share with our folks out here?
Only that, you know, I'm thrilled that you all reached out. I'm really looking forward to a great partnership. And I'm looking forward to you connecting us with other partners, and we will do the same. As you mentioned, it's the connectivity that's important. We have so many strong organizations that, much like the Economic Alliance, working together will get us much further than working individually.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, I wish you and your family the safest and the sanest holiday. And again, this is Troy Stovall with TEDCO Talks. Thank you all again. Hope everyone have a super holiday season. Thanks again, Michele. Appreciate you.
Same to you, Troy. So long, everybody.